Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. Today we're at the National Festival of Railway Modelling here at the N.E.C in Birmingham, and today we're setting up a challenge.
Normally when you think about model railways and getting a train set, you think, oh Mark, that's really expensive.
What we're going to prove to you today, especially at a big show like this, is you can pick up some bargains if you know the right place to look.
So the challenge is, we've all been given a budget of £25 and we're heading out into the show to get a train, full train, locomotive and coaches to run on the Modular. It's not just us, Lozz is behind us there and a couple of other guys from this are taking part. So with that, the rules are coming up on the screen now and the challenge begins.
Let's go shopping.
Go.
Hang on, I can't go anywhere, I've got to do this.
The rules of this challenge are to find a train which will run on the Modular for less than £25. And a train is defined of a minimum of 1 locomotive, 2 bogie coaches or 4 wagons, or a correct working, such as a DMU. And then to work out who's going to be the victor, we've devised a system of points. There'll be 3 bonus points for every single pound that you come under budget, and 5 points for every item of stock that takes you over the minimum train length. If your train is made up of items from the same period, there's an additional 5 points for you. There are more points available if you have the correct locomotive for your train, so a freight loco pulling a freight train, and that's doubled up if the engine comes from the same region as your train. And to make things more exciting, there are 20 points available if you manage to find a tender locomotive. And then there are 20 more points available for every single added detail to the locomotive and the rake of wagons/coaches. There are 40 points available if you manage to pick up a boxed item, 50 points available if the locomotive ends up being used on other trains on the Modular, and another whopping 50 points for everyone who is jealous of what you manage to find. But of course, just because points can be given, they can also be taken awayeth. And so, on that note, there are -5 points for every single bit of damage, paint, blemish, or any other imperfections found on the models, and -10 points for every single running number that's repeated. There's also -10 points if it's not a complete train, so if it doesn't have a brake van or a brake coach in the consist. 15 points are taken away if it's just a generic open wagon freight, and 15 points is also taken away if the locomotive is just the standard Hornby 040. A greater sin of -20 points is applied if your train doesn't meet the definition of a train set out in the rules. There's 20 points removed for every single item that derails, and you lose 40 points if your locomotive has no real-world prototype, and a massive 50 points if the locomotive you've purchased is a non-runner. And with the rules understood, we headed off into the show, determined to find the best bargains that we could for £25. And this, of course, meant going to a wide variety of different stores and digging through vast piles of models, trying to find that one special one that was going to work for us. And of course, for most of us, that meant that we ended up at our friends of Ellis-Clark with their famous rummage bins, the call of which is known to most of the model railway enthusiasts in the country, and at one point almost everybody taking part was huddled around these bins looking for something exciting, which Dave promptly found.
So I went shopping at Ellis-Clark because why wouldn't you? And I've got this. Here's my loco. I have got a Hornby J83 and it was £10 and it's in early BR green. Because it's the best looking one and it was the only one that they had there that was nice. Also, I got some Eastern wagons because I'm from the East and I like East. And then also I got some Eastern brake vans as well. So if you notice, everything I've got is sort of Eastern, LNER, but the loco says British Railways. But this is early British Railways where they just painted over what they had already with British Railways. You're looking at what I've got?
I am, I'm cheating. So I can go and get something better.
Go and get your own stuff. This is mine.
Oh.
I better unpack this and see if it works.
And whilst he does that, let's see how he was doing on the scores. Dave had made a strong start straight out of the gate with 15 positive points. However, it wasn't all positive news because both of his vans and his brake vans shared running numbers with each other, which meant he was fined -20 points for having that repeated running number, which brought his grand total to -5 points. Well, hopefully it will run and it won't get any worse.
I'm to test it. I'm going to take the best loco in the world off. Everyone loves a pacer. And then I'm going to load up my wonderful train here. And then we'll see if it goes up and down. It's a good start. Let's see if it runs.
Disaster.
Do you want to push it?
Oh, okay, not.
Fine.
So it appeared that Dave had managed to avoid any other negative points, and then I made a rather big schoolboy error.
You know what, Dave? I'm really jealous of that. I love the livery on that one.
This gave Dave a well-needed boost, bringing his score up to 45. So assuming the thing doesn't fall off as it goes up and down the modular to accrue any more negative points, Dave opens up with a pretty strong score. And whilst Dave was enjoying his new acquisitions, the rest of us were still out in the show looking for our entries into the competition. And I'd like to reiterate that this is a £25 train which has had no work done to it, and here it is running at the biggest model railway show in the country. With the J83 running flawlessly, Tom and I dug down deeper into the rummage bins to try and find something suitable to compete with it. And then we noticed that both Nick and Lozz were no longer with us.
I love a bargain, so I went for a hunt and came across this little beauty. And of course, every loco needs something to pull, so in my bag of tricks, I have a lovely little wagon. We have another lovely little wagon, and yet another. And because no set is complete without a brake van, we have this. All for the bargain price of £22.50.
Under budget.
Under budget, yes.
For the purpose of this, we're going to round down to the nearest pound, which means Nick gets a 3 times multiplier, and the good news doesn't stop there, because both his brake van and his locomotive had some extra detail with a figure being added to them. So that means he gained a whopping 40 points for them. However, then things started to look a little less rosy. For you see, not only had Nick got a standard Hornby 040, he'd got the one that used to be a Thomas and thus had no prototype. So let's see what this did to his score. And it's big numbers in both the positive and the negative, giving him a respectable 44, just 1 point short of the lead. But Nick wasn't out yet, because when his locomotive took power, it revealed its piece de la resistance. It's got a working lamp on the front buffer beam, and that is kind of trick, and that means he gets a bonus 20 points, which puts him into first place. For Dave to reclaim the lead, something drastic would have to happen. The observant amongst you will have noticed that Nick's locomotive is only pulling 3 wagons, rather than the 4 that he unveiled, and that's because he failed to notice that one of them had an old double-O coupling. This means there are negative points to be given out. Negative 20 because this no longer meets the definition of train set out in the rulebook, and this obviously has big implications for the leaderboard, allowing Dave to snatch victory once again as Nick slides down into second place. Luckily for Nick, he didn't lose any more points as his engine and its remaining train performed flawlessly for the rest of the day. And as Nick's train made its way down the modular, it was passed by Dave's, which was still running strong and hadn't yet fallen off. Meanwhile, some of us were still over by the rummage bins, desperately trying to find that thing that called to us, and was in budget.
Trying, no. So the problem with something like this is the wheels are far too coarse, and so they won't go through our points. So trying stuff, despite being only 9 of your pounds, won't run on the modular. However, sausage wagon.
It was only Tom and I now looking through the rummage bins, as Lozz had disappeared some time ago.
I managed to get myself an auto coach in Great Western livery, plus a Great Western pannier loco of some sort. It's open, it's very cute. And then because between them, these cost £16, I've got a bit of money left from my train, which means I can spend that on making it better, so figures. Generic, GWR, pannier crew. It's a little, this might put me a little bit over budget. Oh, hang on, this is O gauge. That's not gonna work. Okay, now I found the bit with the right scale. I need to see if I can find like a GWR crew, large prairie. Not quite what I'm looking for. 44XX, 15XX, 57XX, pannier crew. That is close enough. I then got a crew as well. They're not painted. But that's okay, because neither are all the people in the auto coach. So I just have a ghost train, I guess.
So how had Lozz done on the scores? Well, it turns out as the auto coach and the loco now had added crews, he was doing quite well.
Lozz is cheating. He's putting on the rolling road first. We slow with it. Well, we never did that. Honest?
What was also infuriating was prior to testing, he managed to get 0 negative points, which sent him sailing off into the lead, leaving the others only hope that perhaps his locomotive would fall off as it went down the modular. Which it didn't even manage to do because it didn't get that far, restoring hope to Dave and Nick. But after a few prods by Lozz, the thing headed off undeterred.
Look at it go.
With 3 of our 10 roads on the Traverser now filled with sub-25-pound trains, we were really excited to prove the point that you could have a train that was capable of running at an exhibition without breaking the bank. And there was more news as well. I had finally stumbled upon a locomotive that I wanted to keep, but I couldn't find any suitable stock in the rummage bins, so I turned to a different and slightly unusual source. I went and saw my friends over at L-Cut Creative, because I knew my friend Jakob wanted to sell a couple of coaches, and these just so happened to be the right type for the locomotive that I'd acquired. And also, he was selling them cheap. So for 20 of your finest British pounds, I've got myself City of Bristol with, it's a Hornby Ringfield Drive tender, so it's an older one, but tender loco for 20 quid. And this was a slight issue, because whilst that is an amazing bargain to get a tender loco for £20 in the rummage bins, which it only just fit into the plastic containers they had, that then gave me an issue for finding coaches, because trying to find a train's worth, which is a minimum of 2, for £5, this was a challenge. And then I bumped into one of my friends who went, "Oh, I'm selling some coaches. Are you interested?" And I went, "Can I buy anything for £5? And he went, "So you won?" I went, "Can I ever buy one, get one free?" And he went, "Go on then." So I've acquired 2 coaches, ex-LMS, in British Railways custard and cream livery, to go with my ex-LMS British Railways Express passenger engine. Now, yes, there should be more coaches, but it is a correct train. Right livery, right era, right region, all together. I'm feeling very pleased. And if it runs and works and everything's glorious, then I'm going to be absolutely over the moon. So I love one of these. In all of my collection of stuff that I have, I don't actually have one of these in British Railway green yet. So this is a new thing for me, and I'm going to put it out and see what happens. So how did I fare on the scoreboard? Not too shabby, being the only person so far to pick up a tender locomotive, which put me into a pretty good stead. It was also the only locomotive that managed to get over the join from the Traverser without a helping hand on the first attempt. Not that this gets me any bonus points, and the observant amongst you will have noticed that there's a white mark on the front inside cylinders, and that counts as a blemish or damage, so that's negative points, and that was something that I could have done without. Because despite having the only tender engine, my score wasn't looking too healthy before we took into account this negative addition, which meant that actually I had the lowest score out of anybody. And that was rather upsetting, because I thought my locomotive and train were absolutely fantastic. By now, our budget trains had surprised all of us by making multiple trips up and down the modular, and they were all running really well. Of course, there was one notable absence in our budget trains, and that was Tom, who was now finalising what it was that he wanted to buy.
So part of the challenge, I immediately went to our friends over at Ellis Clark, because as we all know, you can go there, you can get so much stuff for not a lot of money. So for my loco, I have bought this, which is a loco, because that's, to the extent of my knowledge, it was £15, so I shall consult a Dave on that one shortly. I've got a little 7-plank wagon of some sort with a load in it, so that's got to be extra points. I have also got another wagon, which is a wagon with a load in it that moves, so that's extra points because Bluetooth. And the final thing is a little brake van complete with people, so extra points, therefore I win. That's how this works. That's all right, it's got some weight to that as well. And the special load.
And the Wi-Fi load.
Yeah, that doesn't actually fit. That's points.
Off or on?
It's quirky, therefore
So
points.
It's quirky.
Yeah, that's how points work. Knife, that's not a knife. And to finish it off, if I can get it out of the bag, I have
got lamps on as
a little
well.
brake van with a lamp on both ends, which is not allowed.
No.
And guard with the flag. Lovely.
What about your loco?
Oh yeah.
What is it?
Yes, Dave. What it is a BR Black 040 Hornby Collector Club. So you know, only get that if you're part of the Hornby Collector Club. I'm dropping things. There we go.
That's a pug.
It's a pug, and for 15 of my finish pounds, that will do nicely.
And as Tom started to set up his train on the Traverser, let's have a look at his points. And Tom was off to a very good start, having got some high value items like a boxed locomotive and 3 separate items of extra detail. Of course, the observant amongst you will have noticed that there is one thing missing, and that is that Tom's train is 1 wagon short of being a full train as set out in the rules. It is also a generic open wagon freight with the standard Hornby 040, which means in grand total he is negative 50 points, and that's going to sting. But let's see how the leaderboard is looking. And despite that heavy fine of negative 50 points, Tom is way out in front. So unless something goes drastically wrong with his train as it goes up and down the modular, it looks like victory is a sure thing for him. Much to the annoyance of the rest of us, Tom's train managed to trundle its way up and down the modular without any issues whatsoever, which meant there were no more negative points to add to his final score. And frankly, I'm amazed that we all managed to achieve what we set out to do. We all got a working train for less than £25, which was able to run on our modular layout at the biggest model railway show of the country. And this shows that when we talk about the hobby and we say that it's becoming too expensive, if you're prepared to not have a brand new locomotive and you're prepared to go and look second-hand and rummage through rummage bins, this hobby can be surprisingly affordable and surprisingly varied. We all got different items of stock. In fact, they are very different. I've got my tender engine, Lozz got his auto coach, there is different kinds of freight. It's been a really cool experience to see just how much is out there. It's not like you're limited with a low budget to the same items of stock. And with savvy shopping, you can really build yourself up a large collection of different locomotives without breaking the bank. It shows that this hobby is accessible to all of us if you know where to look, and I think it's a big thing that we're going to be exploring in the future by showing what you can do for low money so more people can get involved with this hobby that I love. Getting back to the game though, it would appear that Tom has managed to win, having the least experience and least knowledge out of all of us on railways. That is of course until I pull a Dumbledore, because At the end of this, there's one set of points which wasn't awarded. After we finished playing our little game and packed everything away, as I was chatting to all of you lovely guys over there, I noticed that my locomotive down here had been put back onto the modular and had been paired up with the sausage train and was now doing additional trips. And I stress this isn't something that I did because I was too busy talking to you guys. And that means that I can award myself a bonus 50 points. And in true Harry Potter style, that means that I go from bottom of the leaderboard to being the winner. So I proudly present to you the winning train. So it's now time to deploy the smug face. Now, I'm sure the others will claim this is a fix, but these were the rules, and somehow I've managed to swing this round into a victory. And frankly, I think managing to get City of Bristol and 2 coaches for £25 is an absolute steal. And considering the thing continued to run after we'd finished doing our little competition, yeah, I think this is the worthy victor. And it shows just what you can achieve in this hobby if you're prepared to shop around. It doesn't have to be something that's cost prohibitive, and it's something that you can get involved and enjoy. So with that, thank you all very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, how about clicking somewhere over there for a video of the show last year, or down there for, I know, something else that we've done. And of course, let me know in the comments below, do you think that I won fair and square, or do you think it was a fix? I'm sure the others will now be complaining and throwing things at their screen. But that's something to deal with another time. So I'll leave you with the worthy victor. Thanks for watching, guys, and let me know as well, what did you manage to find for low money at a model railway show? Ta-ra!